Hey Fight fans, I'm Sarah Davis and you're watching Fight News Now Extra. Going into the weekend, Strikeforce makes a major announcement and we have some of the best interviews from Brazil ahead of UFC 153, including Minotoro's game plan and John Fitch's all-or-nothing attitude. Our MMA panel will join us to preview some of the fights, but first, let's get to our newsmakers. The Showtime Strikeforce relationship has been rocky the last couple of months, and after canceling a September 29th show, it looks like Strikeforce is now canceling their November 3rd card due to too many injuries. A new card is planned for January, but if you add it up, Strikeforce only held 5 events this year compared to 16 last year. Yikes. The co-main event of UFC 153 will see the return of 36-year-old Antonio Minotauro Nogueira against fellow heavyweight Dave Herman. Here's what Nogueira had to say about retiring and his game plan to win this fight.
Dave Herman has been saying that he wants to retire you. What do you make of that?
I mean, it's not gonna be that easy, man. You know, I'm gonna push the base. You know, you better be ready. You know, it's not that easy. Many guys said that before. I even fought a lot of guys undefeated, you know, and a lot of good fighters. So it's not gonna be that easy. I'm gonna do my best over there. You know, he better be ready, man, because I'm gonna try to knock him out.
Welterweight John Fitch is also fighting this weekend, and he's coming off that surprise knockout loss to Johnny Hendricks last December, and prior to that, a draw with BJ Penn at UFC 127. So you can bet he's fired up and looking to get the W against Eric Silva on Saturday night.
It's not just a must win, it's a must perform excellent performance. You know, I don't think even winning is enough for me to really set things going the way I need them to go. You know, I'm really looking for a fight of the night type performance.
And it doesn't look like a super fight between John Jones and Anderson Silva will happen, even though the Spider has moved up to fight Stephan Bonner at 205 this weekend. He said there's no way he'll fight Jones, and he's more interested in facing George St. Pierre at a catchweight. So there you have it, the latest news in MMA, and let's find out what our MMA panel has to say about everything. John Ramdeen and Robin Black, guys, what do you think about this whole Strikeforce Showtime deal, Strikeforce canceling another card?
Yeah, it is just unfortunate what's going on with Strikeforce and the relationship with the Showtime premium cable television network. We've seen over the years that they put forth such great shows. They've entertained their fans, and to see it really almost come to an end is quite surprising.
Yeah, and they've done numbers on Showtime as well. There were 600,000 and 700,000 people watching some of these events. Showtime's made a commitment to MMA. They've, you know, been there during the developmental periods, but it's really kind of a big picture thing, I think. If we travel into the future 20 years, this sport is going to be bigger than ever. This sport is going to continue to evolve, and this is a moment of change where the sport is still finding its footing, figuring out how it's going to be broadcast, who the fighters are, how many we need, and how people are going to consume it.
What I find amazing is the fact that the Strikeforce organization literally only a few days ago announced Jorge Masvidal taking on Bobby Green, and not only is that fight not happening, the entire card set for November 3rd scratched, but what they did promise is that they're going to be back in January with a loaded card, and when you make that type of promise, you have to deliver, and when you look at their roster, Robin, they do have the roster, they do have the fighters to deliver. Can they do it in January?
I think so. I mean, one of the biggest aspects is, yes, they have a good roster. It has been decimated, but there are a ton of good fighters. All of these guys need fights. They've all been sitting. If you're signed to Strikeforce, really it's the fighters who, you know, we as fans love to watch these cards or love to consume these fights, but these fighters sit. You know, the fighters aren't supposed to sit. They're supposed to train, get ready for a fight, have something on the go, be preparing. That's what they do. Some of these guys will only have 5- and 7-year careers. They need to fight.
I think one of the biggest things, the thing that makes the most sense is to take a lot of the fighters in the Strikeforce roster, some of your marquee fighters like middleweight champion Luke Rockhold, and of course the heavyweight prospect Daniel Cormier, Gilbert Melendez, the lightweight champion, move these guys over to the Ultimate Fighting Championship. It seems that's what Zuffa wants. They want some of their big names, and they think they need to use Strikeforce, what it was intended to be. And one of the reasons why it's been so successful is they had the Strikeforce Challenger Series where you develop these fighters. You have to make these guys get the experience, and the only way you're going to get that experience is to fight. Give them a platform to shine, and if they excel, if they win a championship, you move them over to the Ultimate Fighting Championship. But I don't know if they're willing to do that because of the disconnect at the Zuffa offices.
Well, I agree with you fully, and I think that would be the plan. The problem is that plan ain't going to fly with Showtime, and Zuffa wouldn't want to do it with Showtime. So there are rumors about Zuffa doing a developmental league, but, you know, at the same time, you've got the Fox deal, you've got unparalleled growth, you've got all kinds of challenges with cancellations, with injuries, with all of these kinds of things. To be able to go to that next level and develop that, you know, next level of talent, they don't have the workforce, and it's still in development. It's just a time of change, ultimately.
Well, they said that they have a big show coming up in January. What do you anticipate from that show? Of course, everybody was expecting Daniel Cormier to be in this main event. He is the guy that everybody's looking at. He is a guy that he's even said himself that he's willing to come down to 205 pounds and challenge John Jones. He wants to be a coach on the Ultimate Fighter. And I think when you have the fact that he comes from one of the best camps in all of mixed martial arts, that being AKA.
He was a great wrestler.
That's right. He was the captain of the Olympic wrestling team. So you have a great story, not to mention all the trials and tribulations he's gone through over the course of his career. I think it's amazing what Daniel Cormier has brought to the Strikeforce organization, and I think he can make a huge impact, and you have to focus the organization or the event around Daniel Cormier or Gilbert Melendez, because that's two of their blue chip products, or prospects, so to speak.
You've got a couple of athletes like that that are really important. But I mean, you know, to your point on Cormier, it's like, yeah, of course I want to fight John Jones and be on the Ultimate Fighter. I want to get paid. You know, he's maybe not there yet, but this show in January is when you can make him that level of marquee star.
They really have to load the fight card because, I mean, you know, besides Cormier, you have Luke Rockhold, like I said, Gilbert Melendez. You have to make sure that that all their stars are out on that night. That is the
Ray, all of their best.
Exactly, and I don't think that they've done a good job really profiling these guys. They got to load the card in January, but we've got a great card coming up this weekend, UFC 153. Unfortunately, we will not be able to watch this because we're going to be getting our rest because we're running a race on Sunday. Sarah Davis, aren't we?
We are, and I'm going to race them. We're running a 5K, and then we have our CEO, Leonard Aspers, running a freaking marathon, and he's doing that along with Corey Erdman, so good luck to them, and thanks to our analysts. So if you haven't downloaded Fight Network's new iPhone app yet, grab your iPhone, access your app store so you can have the latest news and updates from Fight Network right on your phone. It's super, super easy. And remember, our website is also a great place to stay on top of everything combat. You can find us at fightnetwork.com. Stay with us here. We have more Fight News Now Extra coming up next.